Sometimes when mental health challenges make us feel stuck, it can be easy to lose sight of why we fight for our well-being. But what if you could more easily remember what your reasons to keep going are? Someone left a comment on one of our recent videos that got me thinking a lot more about this idea. Their comment read, "I think it's so good you show reasons to stay healthy in this video. It made me think, what are my own reasons to keep trying to live a healthy life, even with mental health problems? Sometimes it's easy to forget why and just focus on problems, which can be tiring." I loved this reflection, and it got me thinking more about how do we define quality of life? How do we imagine a life that is worth striving for, even if we're feeling overwhelmed? In the throes of navigating my mental illness, it became really hard to not start to see my life through this lens that was somewhat mired by the problems, challenges, or difficulties that I faced as a result of my mental illness. I've talked about this a bit in past videos about how there almost feels like there's this cap on what we can allow ourselves to expect from treatment for severe or chronic mental illness, being one of kind of just getting by or surviving, instead of looking more toward what would it take to thrive. Staying in this kind of, well, how can I just kind of survive and get by mentality was kind of strengthened by not really having many effective treatments that could actually serve to improve my quality of life beyond just dampening symptoms. And so when this is the space that you are moving in your life, it can become really hard for this to not color how you see and understand your own life. We have an online peer support community for anyone who's interested in metabolic therapies for mental illnesses. And in one of our recent peer support groups in that community, someone asked the group, how do I stick with this when I lose motivation? And really interestingly, what the group kind of came to a consensus around is the importance of what we called reconnecting with your why. And maybe your why seems like a cute little throwaway phrase, but it is so much more than that. And it really becomes the emotional fuel for all the steps you take toward improving your quality of life. So what I mean when I'm saying your why is the deep, personal reasons and values that give purpose to your actions. So it's not going to be some generic or surface level goal like lose X amount of weight or anything like that, but it's more of a lived in motivation, something along the lines of wanting to have energy to be able to coach your kids' soccer or to, show up in your life in various ways like that can really fuel how you engage and choices you make to move toward that goal. And maybe something that's important to tease out a little bit more when trying to move into those, lived in motivational goals is teasing out the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. And so extrinsic motivation is more outcomes driven. And so it's something along the lines of, I will feel better if X happens. But intrinsic goals are more values driven. And so it's something more along the lines of, I do X because it aligns with the person that I want to be. And so it can be really helpful to frame your whys in intrinsic terms. Creating whys like, I want to keep moving my body because I value feeling vibrant and energetic. Creating goals where there's more room for, value alignment and whatnot with the person that you want to be or step into can be really helpful in terms of encouraging motivation. So I'll quickly share what my own personal whys are. One of my biggest whys is being able to support my kids. So for me, this looks like having more energy and a clearer mind to do things like coach soccer, play with them, engage with them, help them work through difficulties in life, and just be there fully with them.
The most vibrant it's ever been. The sacrifices worth it.
Do you like my once nude manicure? Another why I've kind of discovered through this process is exploring my own interests. I've especially rediscovered a love of reading lately, and it's been wonderful getting to reconnect with that piece of what I enjoy about my life. Another big why for me is being able to have more of an equitable team dynamic with my husband. Sharing chores and decisions equally with him has been a big source of motivation for increasing my capacity. And then another big why for me has been increasing independence and focus and being able to do tasks on my own, which is something that I struggled with for a while. Being able to tackle work, so creative elements or the more mundane routine elements of work with more clarity and capacity. And all of this in turn leading to another goal of being able to help others through the content that I'm putting out. And so these are really the big motivating and underlying whys that I am constantly trying to reconnect with. And now if you're in a place of really struggling with your mental illness, it can be difficult to even reconnect with your why, identify what it is. And so something that could be helpful is kind of going through an exercise of trying to essentially reframe your own narrative. What story are you telling yourself about your illness or your struggles? The important thing in this exercise is to try to spot a negative narrative, something like, I'm broken. And if that's the story that you are telling yourself, stopping that and trying to reframe it to something more along the lines of, I'm learning new ways to care for myself. This can kind of help to move you out of the problems only lens that was talked about in the comment and that I myself experienced when really bogged down by struggles with my mental illness. Rewriting your own personal narrative can really help to reinforce your why. And then using your why to steer your daily actions. So taking it from this macro big why, something like being there for my kids, and moving it into a more micro action space. Well, what small steps can I take to move more toward connecting with that why? So maybe it's getting outside for a quick 10-minute walk in the morning, or just a 10-minute stretch, or a quick meditation, or whatever your actions that are going to ultimately move you toward that goal and that why are. For me, over the last year and a half, I have gone through this exercise a lot, where if my motivation dips somewhat and I start thinking something along the lines of, I can have a few more carbs or whatever, loosen the grip on my routine in any way, something that I always come back to is, well, no, why am I doing this? And reconnecting with those whys that I've developed for myself personally are really helpful in terms of being able to make decisions that are in line with moving in that direction and being able to stay on track with taking care of myself. I always decide that it's important to keep going with it because it's just not worth risking my capacity to be there for my kids or in my life. And so maybe back to the original comment that I had brought up at the beginning of the video, where someone was sharing that they felt encouraged to come up with their own reasons to try to live a healthy life, even when navigating mental health challenges. That, showing that has been a really big part of what I've been trying to share and show on this channel over the last year and a half is really this, how empowering it can feel to be able to reconnect with your why and make decisions in your own life that move you in the direction of reconnecting with that and ultimately improving your quality of life. I hope that showing that element and focusing on, the various ways that I've been able to reconnect with my why and how it has felt so good don't feel like us just sharing a highlight reel, because I don't want that to be what this comes off as. I still absolutely experience difficult elements of life, but part of this idea of reconnecting with your why and focusing on reasons to keep trying to live a healthy life, even with mental health problems, is being able to still center this aim even when difficult aspects of life come up. Trying to not get lost in the challenge, but feeling empowered to take it all on more effectively, and with the ultimate goal of self-development, growth, and improvement of quality of life. So I hope that this can inspire you to think about what your why is. And if you feel comfortable sharing in the comments below, I would love to hear that from you as well. Thank you so much for watching this video and for going through this reflective process with me. I mentioned our online peer support community, and there is a link below in the description as well as in a pinned comment if that is something that interests you. It's free to join and a great resource and way to connect with others who are trying to make similar improvements in their own lives and experiences of their mental illness. Thanks again, and as always, wishing you and your loved ones good health. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.